Genshin Impact just might be one of the biggest games in the world, and perhaps also one of the most divisive. As someone from the outside looking in, most discourse I've seen personally on the game has been disagreements on whether the gacha elements, for those unfamiliar, the slot machine systems, are actively ruining the game, or whether the Breath of the Wild-like gameplay stands on its own 2 feet. Rarely do I see the actual story of Genshin Impact brought up, and as such I've always been kind of interested to find out whether it's actually any good or not. Hi, my name is Chris, and for this video I decided to boot up Genshin Impact for the first time in 5-ish years since I initially played it and bounced off it. I remember enjoying the gameplay, getting excited to use the free currency to get some cool characters, only to get absolutely nothing. And now that I think about it, that might have something to do with the whole bouncing off thing. But this time, I'm going all in. I'll be reading every single line of dialogue meticulously, and that means no skipping cutscenes or dialogue to get to the quote-unquote good part, like I used to do back in the day. I'll be going in entirely free to play, so join me for this epic adventure into Gacha Land as I get to pretend my English degree is actually worth a damn for a whole 30 minutes while I analyze this anime story made for weebs to death. Let's jump in. So, first things first, just gotta download the game and holy fuck, 113 gigabytes? I mean, I know it's an open world and all that, but games with an anime art style typically don't go this overboard. The gacha gods better be with me on this one. Anyway, now that that's finally done, let's get on with it, shall we? You know what? On second thought, I think I'll stay here for just a little while longer.
2 hours later.
Alright, seems like we're ready.
So, what you're trying to say is that you fell here from another world?
Genshin Impact opens with an incredibly mysterious and irritatingly squeaky voice asking a bunch of rhetorical, exposition-heavy questions to fill the player in on the state of things. You know, it's almost like she's reading directly from the script. Wait, what's that over there? Is that the script lying on the ground? Anyway, she makes it clear that our protagonist and his or her sibling is not from this world. In fact, they both seem to be some sort of interdimensional space travelers that are stranded here. The siblings are understandably not too pleased by this, and so they decide they want to leave. But they didn't realize they skipped to the end of every JRPG ever and had a boss fight with God waiting for them.
It ends here.
Yo, I'll subscribe to that guy. Yep, this is an anime game, alright. And I love it. Anyway, we pick Anime Boy as our protagonist, you know, for immersion. Pick our name and watch our sister get Fana snapped by the God Lady. But it's not all bad. At least we get to listen to Genshin's absolutely incredible soundtrack while we get our butt kicked. Listen to this music. We don't stand much of a chance here, but instead of killing us, we get the same treatment as our sister and...
How many years ago was it? I don't know.
Yup, that just happened. We just got time skipped several years into the future. Not only that, but we find out that Anime Boy already met Paimon, Genshin's signature mascot character, a few months ago. We're like 5 minutes into the story, and not to spoil anything, but this is probably my biggest issue with the story as a whole. You're telling me our poor little Anime Boy spent literal years wandering around without meeting up with or interacting with anyone? I mean, that must be the case, because we're about to explore the whole of this world, and nobody, in the first region of Mondstadt at least, seems to acknowledge ever having seen this guy around. He does mention waking up, which means that he might not have been awake for all of those years, but at the very least he spent months on his own. If that's the case, why is my map completely blank? Like, what was he doing with all that time? And I mean, I see why the writers did it, because at the very least this allows the gameplay to kick off relatively quickly without wasting too much time on boring setup, but this just doesn't make any sense to me from a narrative standpoint. Hopefully this rant ages poorly as we get into the later regions and storylines, but somehow I kind of doubt it. Anyway, Mr. Anime here is our main protagonist for the day, and he wants to find his sister and get the heck out. This serves as our ultimate goal, for now at least, though it's quite easy to forget as we get involved in all sorts of craziness going forward. Even if you've never touched Genshin Impact before, you've probably heard of our infamous little sidekick here, Paimon. We'll talk more about her as we go, but for now, all you need to know is that Mr. Anime fished her out of the sea one day, and yeah, now she's stuck to us for some reason.
The path ends here! Guess we'll just have to climb! And depleted stamina stamina takes time to recover. Okay, let's take the route we planned.
I am already considering
We're
lowering the
off
voice
to-
volume. Anyway, we finally decide to get going for the first time in months apparently, reach the top of the cliff, and get served our first of many lawsuits from Nintendo. Paimon points us in the direction of a giant glowing statue in the distance, a so-called Statue of the Seven, referring to the seven gods overseeing Genshin's world, known as Teyvat. This one belongs to the god of wind, or Anemo as it's called in Genshin, who looks over this first region of Mondstadt. Why is it called Anemo and not just wind, you ask? You know, that's actually a very interesting question.
Paimon will take you to the animal god's place first, and there's a reason why.
Why? Just tell me. And so we officially hit the first act of the prologue, as it's called, which pretty much means all of the story until we're ready to leave Mondstadt. Paimon keeps blabbing away, telling us that she's absolutely sure that someone here will know something about our sister's whereabouts. Anyway, I immediately decide to ditch Paimon and explore for a bit. You should follow Paimon. You should shut the before finally heading to the Statue of the Seven. Huh? So we touch it and get imbued with the power of Anemo for some reason. Paimon explains that us not being from this world somehow makes it way easier for us to get cool powers than the actual people who live in Teyvat already. Oh, and we also revealed the first part of the world map.
Seems all you had to do was just touch the statue and you got the power of Anemo.
You know, these statues are quite big and glowy. I feel like you'd be able to spot them quite easily if you were to, say, wander around in the wilderness for an extended period of time, like, oh, I don't know, several years. Paimon suggests heading to the so-called City of Freedom in the distance, where they worship the wind god. And since we now have the power of said god, Paimon is once again sure that we have the edge we need to get clues on our sister there. What's in this for you, Paimon? That's what I'm wondering. When are you gonna turn on me or become like the ultimate evil? I'm calling it right now. It's the final arc of this game. We try out our new powers before heading towards the city and grab this one real quick. Oh!
Wow, what is that?
So instead of, I don't know, walking in a big circle around where the giant dragon just landed, we instead decide to head there to check things out. We trigger the dragon's trap card somehow with our wind powers and get a glimpse of a mysterious green individual who seemed to be communicating with the dragon. Is talking to dragons normal?
Of course not.
I'm gonna act like a doofus every single time I get the option, by the way.
Oh, what's that?
The dragon seems to have dropped a shiny for us, so we go and stuff it in our pocket, even though we have no idea what it is. Okay, finally we can actually head towards the city and...
Hey you! Stop right there! May the Anemo god protect you, stranger.
This is Amber, certified worst girl and a member of the Knights of Favonius, which is an ancient order that protects Mondstadt. I know this because that's literally all Amber likes to talk about. She does give us one of the most iconic dialogue options in Genshin though, so she does get a few points for that. Amber joins our party, letting us shoot fire arrows at stuff, which is actually pretty neat. She promises to help us find our sister in exchange for clearing out a not bokoblin camp in the area. It's here we get our first real taste of combat, swapping characters and utilizing each character's element to our advantage. And I gotta say, it feels pretty nice to play. Anyway, we finish smacking up the hilly churls, and Amber tells us that it's unusual for them to be this close to the city. She mentions that the dragon we saw earlier, known as Storm Terror, has been a real menace lately and has been stretching the knights thin, leaving them unable to reliably keep the goblins at a distance. After a quick cooking tutorial, we finally head into the city of Mondstadt itself.
Travelers under the protection of the Knights of Favonius, welcome to Mondstadt.
The citizens are feeling quite down because of all the dragon attacks, but Amber mentions that she has faith that Jean, the acting Grandmaster of the Knights of Favonius, will set things right. She hands us our next lawsuit from Nintendo in the form of a glider, a pair of wings that we can use to descend slowly. Yeah.
A wind glider.
God damn it, Amber.
Hey, why doesn't Paimon get a reward? Because Paimon is useless.
She also invites us to join us for some weird dish or another.
Sticky honey rose.
We get to the top of Mondstadt City to practice some wind gliding, but we're quickly interrupted when Storm Terror shows and sucks us up. Bye! For some reason we don't lose altitude at all while gliding, and after all that hangout time with Paimon, we understandably start to lose our mind a little bit and hear a mysterious voice speak to us.
Concentrate. See yourself grasping the wind. Harness its energy.
So we hilariously gun the dragon down with no resistance from him at all, and he dips. When we land, we're greeted by a mysterious new ally.
Are you a new ally or a new storm?
His name is Kaya, another member of the Knights of Favonius. Amber introduces us as travelers from afar.
From afar. Is that all we know of them?
Yeah, I want to know more too. Trust me. Anyway, he invites us to the headquarters of the Knights so we can meet the rest of the gang. So we head there and... Oh, hello there.
Jean, what's the hurry?
This is Jean, the acting grandmaster, and the librarian, Lisa.
Oh, are you sweeties here to help us out?
Oh no. They ask us to hang out in Mondstadt until the Storm Terror issue is resolved so they can properly help us find our sister. Guess we leave it up to you then. Where's the end?
Hey, don't be such a slug.
Never mind. I guess we're helping these random strangers we've just met take down an uber powerful dragon. Yup, seems like the reasonable thing to do. Turns out Lisa has actually tracked down where Storm Terror is drawing its power from, namely the 4 Winds temples scattered across Mondstadt. So, it's up to us to take care of 3 out of the 4 temples. Why not the last one, you ask? You know, that is an excellent question. Oh, wish. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. We can choose to talk to the rest of the gang here, which doesn't really reveal much more than we already know, but we do get a little insight on Jean. According to Amber, she's a very hard worker, sacrificing her own well-being for the cause to the dismay of those around her. Kaya also explains to us that Jean is the acting grandmaster because the real grandmaster is off on some expedition or another. The grandmaster took a vast majority of the knights with him on this expedition, leaving Jean with a whole lot of stress and very few hands to deal with it. I do really like this way of optionally adding depth to a character because it only slows the pace down if the player wants it to. As a result, Jean is probably the most fleshed out character in the whole of Mondstadt, but that admittedly doesn't take much either, as many of them are incredibly flat and two-dimensional. Anyway, we take a short detour to the blacksmith and collect some ore before reaching the first of the 4 Winds temples, where Amber is waiting for us.
Even Storm Terror has given up on its own temple.
She tells us that Storm Terror was once one of the 4 Winds, the 4 divine protectors of Mondstadt, and refuses to elaborate. So we go in and explore this very, dare I say, shrine-like temple, where we use the pyro element to solve puzzles and blast our way towards the end. We find the source of Storm Terror's power and smash it.
Phew, I'm tired.
Amber tells us to talk to Lisa if we want to learn more about Mondstadt's history, because she herself doesn't know a damn thing. After that, I channel my inner Guild Wars player and wander off to explore for an extended period of time before finally reaching the next temple. This time, it's Kaya waiting for us at the entrance.
Come closer. Can you smell that?
He tells us that we should expect some resistance inside. He also drops a tiny lore piece telling us that no one makes offerings to the 4 Winds anymore like they used to do in the olden days. Anyway, we head in and here we get to try out Kaya, who is a ice or cryo type character. We use this moveset to clear and puzzle our way to the end of the temple, where we once again find a very windy rock waiting for us.
Let's deal with it.
Kaya praises us for our performance and sends us off to the next one, while he himself deals with the leader of the Hilly Churls with the aid of a mysterious red-haired stranger. With that, Kaya joins our party for real, and we head off to the last temple. Mommy. We head in, and this time use Lisa's electro powers to clear the temple. Yeah, there's not too much storytelling happening in this part of the game. When actually playing through it though, I didn't really mind, since the gameplay is fun and engaging enough to keep me going on its own. We reach the final stone, smash it, and...
Dragon of the East, Lion of the South, Wolf of the North, Falcon of the West.
Lisa finally gives us a little more lore, telling us that the 4 Winds the temples belong to are connected to the god of Anemo, Barbados. She also tells us that Storm Terror's real name is actually Dwalin, as well as the reason for only visiting 3 out of 4 temples.
Because it has been consuming itself from the beginning.
Lisa theorizes that Dwalin has a burning hatred for Mondstadt and that this has caused it to become something even more powerful than one of the 4 Winds.
But why would one of the 4 Winds hate the city it was supposed to protect?
Lisa doesn't really want to tell us and hands us a book instead, ending the conversation then and there. And of course, we're going to study up for this video. In short, the book tells the story of Dwalin's struggles with getting the people of Mondstadt to not hate him. When they finally do accept him because of a mysterious bard playing a holy lyre, he protects them for many years, even fighting and killing another dragon called Durin that was attacking the land. After the battle, Dwalin goes into a deep slumber, and in the meantime, the people stop worshipping the 4 Winds, leading to Dwalin's feelings of betrayal and hatred for the people. While I do think this is some essential lore that should have been explained to all players because it, explains the villain's motivation, which is an important element of any good story, the actual lore book itself is actually a really interesting read, both in the way it's written and in the way the events are portrayed. With all the power stones gone, the skies clear over Mondstadt City, and we unlock Lisa as a permanent member of our party.
I'll take very good care of you.
I'm sure you
So-
will. Marking the end of Act 1. To reach Act 2, we'll have to grind some adventure rank first, so I happily set off to explore for a bit. But before I progress any further, there is one important thing I have to do to make sure I get the complete Genshin experience. Should I try rolling? God, I kind of want to. Oh,
My name is Noelle, maid of the Knights of Favonius.
Noelle is a guaranteed drop, so it's not all that exciting, but she does use a greatsword, so of course you go straight into the party. Oh, hell yeah. We briefly start side questing, which gives us a cool looking cutscene filled with lore.
Needed was a stronger wind to fly.
But it's an Amber side quest, so as soon as we reach rank 10, I immediately ditch her and head towards the main quest. Oh no, just a perp. Oh!
I am Ningguang.
Ningguang. Oh, she's a mage kind of character.
Yeah, I never used her. Anyway, we find Jean engaged in conversation with Anastasia of the Fatui, a mysterious bunch of diplomats from one of the other nations, Snezhnaya. The Fatui lay into Jean, telling her to let them handle the Storm Terror issue themselves with force. Jean understandably isn't too pleased that Snezhnaya is so willing to kill one of the four winds of Mondstadt, so she tells Anastasia off.
I'll be sure to make thorough notes.
That's not ominous at all.
Once the Fatui lady leaves, we talk to Jean. She tells us that the Fatui are the most aggressive diplomats in Teyvat and that they have always been after the animal god's power, so she expects the worst from them. We cut off her whining to ask her to gather everyone back at headquarters so we can instead show them that cool glowy rock we found ages ago. Lisa takes a look and promises to research it further.
They're incredibly ancient texts, not to mention... Ouch!
Turns out Lisa can't actually handle the crystal because it seems to hurt anyone that touches it if they have a vision. What are visions, you ask? Well, you see, not everyone in Teyvat can use magic enemy powers. Those that can are special people called allogenes, and they use visions, which is a physical object as I understand it, to channel their element. Take Lisa for example. It's her brooch thing above her, That doesn't really apply to us though, as we don't really need anything in particular to channel our elemental power.
The crystal would be better left in the hands of my cutie. It will just be a pain if left with us. Both literally and metaphorically.
We put the rock back in our pocket and Jean rewards us for our rock carrying capabilities by officially making us an honorary knight of Favonius.
Honorary Knight of Favonius?
I just said that! In exchange, we're gonna continue to help them out with the Storm Terror threat. We head outside to talk to Paimon. And she reminds us that we saw some green dude hanging out with a dragon earlier. A green dude that just so happens to run by at the same time. Convenient.
Wait, hold on a minute. That's the same guy!
No way, bro.
So we decide to track him down with our detective vision powers, and after some running around, we find him at the fountain. The bard triggers another cutscene recounting pretty much everything that we learned in the lore book earlier. So I guess you don't really have to read that book to understand Storm Terror's motivations. Small plus points there, Genshin. Anyway, the bard quickly recognizes us as the ones who scared Dwalin away in the forest earlier. This year's Venti definitely just an ordinary bard with just a passing resemblance to the one in all the cutscenes. We decide to show him our cool rock for a good measure.
Oh, isn't this... What? The crystal has been purified? When?
So somehow that happened, and Venti identifies the rock as a crystal made of literal tears from Dwalin. The bard lets us check out his rock as well. Yes. Yup, we've got the magic touch apparently, so why didn't this happen earlier when we picked it up? You know, that is an excellent question. Venti mentions that Dwalin will eventually burn himself out in his rage, even if we don't take him down ourselves.
As a knight, I suggest you turn yourself in along with the dragon.
Do you really deem that necessary?
He tells us that he has a secret plan and then gives us a vague clue to find him again at the symbol of Mondstadt's hero.
Bye-bye.
So I guess we gotta figure out what that could possibly mean. You know, I didn't really expect the story to do this, but it's kinda cool that it lets the player work it out for themselves.
Oh, Paimon knows! It's that huge tree!
We meet up with Venti at the giant tree and quickly get interrupted by a giant floaty wind orb thing. So we beat it up so we can keep interrogating Venti. He tells us that Storm Terror's fall into rage wasn't actually due to the people disliking him or not worshipping him anymore. Instead, it's actually due to the black blood running through his veins, something that's apparently been causing him pain for a long time. The black blood has also allowed an Abyss Mage to lie and manipulate him into becoming what he is now. Abyss Mage, never heard such a name.
They're from the Abyss Order.
We find out that the Abyss Order is basically the big bad behind everything, and that they really, really, really don't like humans. Apparently Venti was trying to cure Dvalin from the Order's poison earlier, but because we interrupted him, he was instead poisoned himself. God damn it, Paimon. I blame you.
Yes, it was you.
Whoops. He tells us that the big tree is the place from which Mondstadt sprung, and that hanging out here is curing him somehow. He then guilt trips us into helping him get his grubby little fingers on a sacred object, the holy lyre der Hermel, from the church in Mondstadt. Yeah, seems like a fair exchange to be honest. We learned that the lyre used to belong to Barbados, the god of wind, and that it just might be able to help Dvalin overcome his anger issues.
Look me in the eyes. Do you not find me trustworthy?
We head into the cathedral and watch Venti spectacularly fail to convince his sister of the church to lend him the lyre. So Venti decides to pull out the ace in his sleeve.
I cannot hide anymore. My disciples, rejoice! Behold, the god of Animo, Barbados, has descended.
If there's nothing else, I'll be going back to handle the cathedral's paperwork now.
Emotional, damn it!
Shockingly, the sister doesn't believe him, so it's up to us to try our luck. We are a Knight of Favonius after all. She's inclined to help us, but not without a whole bunch of paperwork.
May I see the document from the Knights of Favonius?
Paimon ate it on our way here. So we decide our only option is to steal it from the cathedral come nightfall. We ask Venti whether he actually is a god like he claimed before, and he gives us some vague answer. Anyway, we've got some time before sunset, let's try our luck once again. Oranchi. Oh, Oranchi! Oranchi, baby! No, not a weapon! Are you Noelle might be very happy, but I was kinda hoping for a 5-star character to appear here. However, we do get this Electro Ninja whip lady called Kuki Shinobu, who I instantly award a place in my party. So, nighttime comes and we sneak into the cathedral's basement. Oh shit, it's a stealth section? We easily sneak past the guards here and reach the lyre, only to have some masked Fatui looking rando reach it first and blow our cover. We make our escape by glider and seek shelter in Mondstadt's local tavern.
We'd like a seat at your, least conspicuous table.
This is D-Luke, certified Giga Chad and owner of this pub and a local winery. He is also the mysterious red-haired guy who killed that mage before in the Temple of the Four Winds, remember? D-Luke urges us to hide upstairs and sends the guards running in the wrong direction when they come storming in. What a nice guy. After that, we head back downstairs and try to stop Venti from becoming an alcoholic.
You seem too young to be drinking.
No need to worry.
He's an anime
when I
character.
started drinking,
He's probably tens of thousands of millions of years old.
D-Luke tells us that he knows what we've been up to and that he really doesn't like the Knights of Favonius for some reason.
The Knights of Favonius. Inefficient right from beginning to end. I have my own hopes for this city.
I like you though, D-Luke.
Now,
We decide to let D-Luke in on the situation and he agrees to help us get the lyre back from the thief. So, surely he joins our party, right? Well, no, cause you see, he's actually a 5-star character and Genshin doesn't give those away for free. Unless you're very lucky, that is. Anyway, we agree to meet up at the tavern at night to discuss our next steps. To our surprise, D-Luke has called Jean to the meeting despite his dislike of the Knights.
What a surprise.
We fill her in on the state of things and she of course believes us and agrees to help as well. Her role as acting Grandmaster of the Knights of Favonius does complicate things a bit though. She can't publicly show her support for a peaceful solution to the Storm Terror issue unless she wants the Fatui to capitalize on the weakness she's showing to undermine her in front of her people.
That's why I can only do this in private.
She's actually a complex character. Well, here we go.
We learn that D-Luke and Jean may have actually served together in the Knights before, as Jean calls D-Luke Sir, much to his dismay.
This is really awkward.
To absolutely no one's surprise, Jean tells us that the Fatui are most likely behind the stealing of the lyre in an attempt to lure the Animo god out so they can steal its power. D-Luke also seems to know where the Fatui are hiding the lyre, so he hands us a flimsy disguise to avoid diplomatic issues, and off we go. At this point I have around 3 hours of footage of me just running around exploring. This video is about the story, but I think it's worth noting that I am really enjoying the gameplay here, because that enjoyment inevitably also helps me to enjoy the story more. Just keep that in mind if you find that I'm not being hard enough on the storytelling. Anyway, before finally hitting up the Fatui hideout, we also managed to snag up Barbara, who I've to this day still not had in my party even once. Now it's time for the Fatui to get their comeuppance. This is a cruel moment in the campaign. The game lets us try out D-Luke while clearing out the hideout in the same way as the other characters, but this time there's no permanent unlock waiting at the end. By interrogating a stray Fatui dude, we find out where the lyre is hidden, and also hear about someone called Senora.
Did he say Senora? What a strange name.
D-Luke tells us that Senora is one of the 11 Harbingers. We don't know what exactly that is yet, but they're powerful enough to allow the Fatui to spread their influence across all of the 7 nations. Scary. But never mind that, we smash up the place, beat a wimpy final boss, and grab the lyre at the end.
The lyre is back in safe hands. Where did that guy go, though? He was here a second ago.
Senora is going to end you.
Big talk for a guy who still ran off in the end. Chicken.
It's at this point I make a very disturbing revelation about myself.
Guys, I think something crazy is happening. I'm agreeing more and more with what Paimon is saying. Am I starting to lose that? I really wish she wouldn't refer to herself in the third person. I really do hate that a lot. But other than that, we've been kind of agreeing on stuff. Oh god. Am I as annoying as Paimon? No wonder I'm hard stuck at 300 subscribers.
We head back to the hideout with the liar, so surely we're good to go now, right?
Its animal power has run dry.
Oh god.
Turns out 1,000 years in storage took a toll on the liar's strings, cause they're all out of animo juice. So we used the tear of Dvalin on the strings to give them some power back.
This youthful glow.
Praising yourself? Really?
I was talking about the Holy Liar.
But of course, one tier isn't enough, and so we're sent on another fetch quest around the entire region once again.
You deserve an ugly nickname. Oh, Paimon knows. From now on, you'll be known as Tone Deaf Bard.
Alright, that's too far, Paimon.
On our way to the first location, D-Luke tells us that a thief actually stole another holy object 6 months ago, a vial containing the animal god's breath, and that the Fatui have been trying to get their hands on it ever since. There's a billion counterfeits flooding the black market, and D-Luke has been buying up every single one to get his hands on the real one before the Fatui. Guy is loaded, I'm telling you. Anyway, the tiers seem to be randomly scattered around Mondstadt, so we head out to find them. First one is guarded by this big boy right here, so we smash him. We also learned that Jean has a pet tortoise, adding yet another layer to her character and firmly establishing her lead as best girl of Mondstadt.
What?
The next tier is hidden in a domain, so we plow our way through and grab it. Here we learned that D-Luke has been proclaimed a persona non grata, or unwanted person, by the Fatui. To me, you're most definitely a persona grata, D-Luke. Please, miHoYo. Bless my rolls.
If I were to choose between eating a cryo slime alive or joining the Fatui, I'd prefer to be crushed to death by a meteorite.
We head to D-Luke's winery with the tiers in hand and get those strings nice and wet. Now all that remains is summoning Storm Terror, so we decide to go to Starsnatch Cliff, a particularly high and remote location, so no one gets caught in the crossfire. Or crosswind, I guess. So we head up there and Venti starts playing, calling out to his old friend.
Has been done. Cannot be undone.
However, things turn sour as an Abyss Mage shows up and blasts the liar, whispering sweet nothings into Dvalin's ear. Dvalin takes off and the liar is completely broken, leaving us no choice but to regroup and think about our next steps. D-Luke once again steps up to carry the team to victory as he plans on using his contacts to figure out where Storm Terror and the Abyss Mage are hiding.
D-Luke. Though he dislikes the Knights of Favonius, he protects Mondstadt in his own way.
Yep, that's his character, alright. Thank you, Paimon.
Here we get a glimpse of a familiar figure hanging out with the Abyss Mages. Yup, it's her sister Lumine, and she's apparently somewhat of a leader to the bad guys. The mages speak of returning her homeland to this world, whatever that means, and that's all we get of this plotline for the foreseeable future. With that, Act 2 is complete and we're ready to head into the endgame in Act 3. Back at the winery, we learn that D-Luke has managed to scrape together a few clues to the Abyss Order's location. Paimon sees her chance to call out Venti's uselessness.
Come to think of it, Mr. Big Animo God Barbados, why exactly do you need the help of mere humans?
So, Venti responds by dropping some lore. You see, the 7 gods were once known as the 7 Archons, and each Archon gets their power from ruling over the people in their respective region. But Barbados doesn't really believe in ruling his people, instead letting them handle things themselves. Mondstadt is the city of freedom after all. However, this also means that Venti is by far the least powerful of all the Archons out there.
Maybe someone got a little
Democracy.
too free and is just too lazy to care.
Anyway, turns out the Abyss Mage is like right next to the winery. So exactly why are we wasting so much time standing here when he could be getting away at this very moment?
I cannot stress enough how important it is to not let it escape.
So she's right over here? Why the fuck are we standing there talking for 10 hours if he's over here somewhere?
It's 200 meters away and we just stood there talking. We managed to track him down and start beating the ever-loving Paimon out of him. Killing the mage lets Venti remove the barrier around the area known as Storm Terror's Lair and... Hold up, the area is literally called Storm Terror's Lair, and no one thought to look there first. Anyway, we decide to head there and confront Dvalin head-on, beginning our final expedition with the Mondstadt gang.
If slaying him is our only choice, I will gladly become the knight that leads the charge.
Venti tells us that we may still be able to avoid slaying the dragon, and that we, the player character, might actually be the key. Remember those glowy rocks that we turned from red to blue? Yeah, we can surely do the same thing with a big-ass dragon, right?
Oh, so we just need to fight monsters from the abyss and a dragon. No pressure or anything.
So we enter Stormterror's lair and... Oh. Yeah, this looks kind of
Looks
sick.
like this is the front gate to Stormterror's lair.
Once again, I am absolutely amazed by both the music and the visuals here. At this point, Venti's had enough of Paimon's BS.
It's stuck.
It's stuck.
Let's make a detour then. Heading up.
Let's make a detour then. Heading up.
Alright. Anyway, we fight our way to the top of the lair only to find out that we can't reach Stormterror without breaking some ancient seals. In fact, Venti tells us that these ruins are older than the Four Winds themselves, and that Mondstadt was previously ruled by a tyrant.
Anyway, I'll sing you that story when we have a chance in the future.
Tell me now.
For our final quest of the prologue, we gotta go around Stormterror's lair and light up some thingamajigs. Our objective takes us around the entire region, leading to plenty of exploration and puzzles on the way. So with all that out of the way, we're ready to finally face Stormterror. We have a heart-to-heart, power of friendship type of pep talk before heading in. And in case you somehow didn't figure it out already, Venti reveals that he was indeed the voice we heard when we were first fighting Stormterror over Mondstadt City. What a shocker.
Look! There are 2 shiny spots on Dvalin's back.
We start off the battle with the dragon by once again flying around and shooting up Stormterror's weak spots.
Aim for those blood clots.
In a turret section that goes on far too long for my taste. At least he's defending himself this time. After shooting up the dragon a bit, he lands in a sufficiently giant boss arena where we can fight him on solid ground. The game gives us Venti as alone here, making the rest of our party entirely useless in comparison. Venti's wind arrows are simply too strong and turn the entire fight into a bit of a disappointing cakewalk. After we beat him up, the boss arena falls apart, and just as it looks like we might get an unhappy landing, our anger management classes take effect and Dvalin swoops in to save us.
It's been a while since we flew like this together. Huh, Dvalin?
Dvalin asks why Venti didn't just order him to save us, and Venti responds by setting the dragon free for good, making him finally able to listen to his own free will first and foremost. We get a brief cutscene here with Jean recounting the aftermath, the citizens of Mondstadt learning of Dvalin's change of heart, and everyone heading toward a brighter future.
Jean got back first, and she told us all about your heroic deeds.
Ah yes, seems like a much better place now.
Terrible weather and Amber all in the same frame. What a jump scare. Turns out, while we were off fighting Stormterror, the Hilichurls attempted an invasion of Mondstadt City. The knights were able to fight them off, but the amount of coordination from the otherwise primitive enemies does disturb Amber a bit.
Our best guess
The
is that
Abyss
the
Order.
Abyss Order is behind it.
Uh-oh.
I'm sorry. You should be celebrating your
just like
victory,
looking off at the
not
distance.
listening to all this somber talk.
Amber thinks this is the perfect time to finally get that weird dish she offered us way back at the beginning.
Everyone got caught up in the storm terror crisis.
I need a hospital, please.
No time like the present, right? You guys hungry?
No.
So we do a victory lap around the city before finally meeting up at the Good Hunter to finish the story.
Kaya is busy. Complete the quest. Kaya's troubles. What?
Oh, actually it turns out Kaya is waiting for us to do some side quests with him so he won't show up for the main story. So we initiate that side quest so he gets his budding gear and head back to the Good Hunter. Here he congratulates us for becoming Mondstadt's next big hero and starts sharing his thoughts on the Abyss Order with us. He finds it kind of weird that they only sent a few Hilichurls to invade the city when we were gone, seeing as it was probably the perfect moment to strike.
That same day, I saw shadowy figures lurking in the city itself.
Since all the knights were outside of town defending the gates from the Hilichurls, the inside was left completely unguarded, allowing intruders free reign inside. Kaya managed to beat up a few of them and found out that the order is united under one single leader.
The Abyss Order has a leader?
Of course they do. Fucking questions that, Paimon.
The name of this leader is the Princess, which is what the mages called our sister in the cutscene earlier. Kaya notices Amber approaching and hurries out of there stat. I don't blame the guy. Matter of fact, can I go with you? Amber asks us about our plans, and Paimon decides that it's time to get out of Mondstadt and explore the other regions for clues about our sister.
Let the wind lead.
That's the spirit.
Before we leave though, Jean apparently wants to see us at the cathedral. So we head up there to see what she wants. She introduces us to Barbara, who we already know because she's in our party, right?
So, why are you acting like we don't know you? Barbara? Is it because I put you on the bench, Barbara? You suck, Barbara.
I'm not really in a position to speak.
She thanks us for preventing an all-out war between the military and Stormterror. Jean tells us that the Fatui problem has been resolved as well, since they lost their excuse for pressuring the knights. Anyway, we hand over the lyre and...
There you go, Barbara.
The holy lyre!
Venti works a little magic on the lyre, seemingly restoring it back to glory.
Why didn't you just do that in the first place?
Turns out it was just a parlor trick. The lyre isn't truly fixed and the illusion will wear out soon. So we rush out of the cathedral and... What? Turns out the Fatui aren't quite done yet. Here we finally get to see who this La Senora actually is, as she shows up and immediately gives us the cold shoulder.
Absentee Archon of Mondstadt. How impotent you've become. Invasive vermin.
She completely annihilates us and snatches something called a Gnosis from Venti, though we're not quite sure what that is. We black out and wake up with Barbara standing over us. I was kinda hoping it would be La Senora. She tells us that Venti already got up and headed back to the symbol of Mondstadt's hero, the tree we met him at earlier. So we head there to meet him, triggering the final conversation of this region.
The wind amongst the branches is good. I love the way it smells.
We ask him what exactly a Gnosis is, and he tells us that they are essentially an internal source of power for each of the 7 Archons, much like a Vision is an external source of power for normal elemental users. We also learn that La Senora and the rest of the 11 Harbingers are empowered beings, acting on the direct order from the leader or Tsaritsa of Snezhnaya.
The Tsaritsa of Snezhnaya?
Man, say that 3 times fast. This lore keeps getting deeper, and it opens the door for some truly interesting plot lines. I am very curious to see where it's all headed. Venti tells us that he knew the Tsaritsa about 500 years ago, but after a certain catastrophe, she no longer wants anything to do with him. And that's all he'll tell us for now, because of course it is.
If you seek the rest of the 7, many difficulties lie ahead of you still.
Venti recommends us to go to Mondstadt's neighboring nation, Liyue, first, which is ruled personally by the Earth or Geo-Element Archon. Apparently, he descends only once a year to steer the nation before heading back to isolation, and that time is fast approaching.
What? Oh, why didn't you tell us before?
Venti has one last monologue to finish off the prologue with.
Traveler, as you set off on your journey once again, you must remember that the journey itself has meaning. The birds of Tevat, the songs in the cities, the Tsaritsa, her Fatui and the monsters, they are all part of your journey. The destination is not everything. So before you reach the end, keep your eyes open. Use the chance to take in the world around you.
We can ask him a few questions here, having him elaborate on a few of his decisions, such as freeing Dwalin. Not much new is revealed here though, and so we finish off our conversation with Venti as well as Act 3. Alright. Before our next adventure in Liyue, I'm gonna need some time to explore and grind up our adventure rank. So let's finish up Mondstadt for good with some final thoughts in the meantime. So, after fully clearing the prologue, exploring every nook and cranny of Mondstadt, and listening to Paimon talk way more than any human being reasonably should, do I actually think the story of Genshin Impact is any good? Honestly, kinda yeah, with a whole bunch of strings attached. Let's start with the good, because there's actually a whole lot here that surprised me. The overall arc of Mondstadt, with the ancient protector turned enemy of the state, a lazy wind god who would rather vibe with the people than actually do some god work, and a sinister third party parsoning everything from the shadows. It is a genuinely solid fantasy setup. Dwalin's backstory in particular is great. Once you piece together the lore, his whole fallen guardian betrayed by the people he protected angle is way more compelling than your typical angry dragon. I just really wish they stuck with that the whole way through though, instead of suddenly blaming his aggression on something he can't control himself, that being the black blood in his veins. A villain with an interesting motivation and drive themselves is 1,000 times more interesting than a villain that's just being controlled by someone else. But I digress. I actually really like the bigger picture seeds they plant here. The Fatui, La Senora and the Harbingers, the Tsaritsa from Snezhnaya. The Gnosis and the Vision stuff, all of that really makes Tevat feel like it existed before we as the player set foot here. By the end of Act 3, I wasn't just curious about Mondstadt anymore, I genuinely wanted to see where the whole 7 Archons plotline goes from here. I feel like the diplomatic stuff was handled well too, with Jean in particular navigating around that. That was kind of fascinating. And of course, my final big positive, the presentation. The music, the vistas, it all sells the story and world a whole lot more, even when the script itself is feeling a little clunky at times. Genshin is honestly one of the most comfy games I've played in a long time, and that cozy factor absolutely makes me more forgiving of the rough edges in the story. And yeah, there are definitely rough edges here. Mondstadt's story arc has this habit of forgetting what it said like 5 minutes ago. We start with this huge battle where we lose our sister, which is a really strong emotional hook, but then the storyline pretty much goes, look, there's a dragon, for 10 hours, and we forget all about that. When the game finally goes, oh, by the way, your sister might actually be the leader of the Abyss Order, peace out, it feels more like a kind of cheap trailer for upcoming content instead of an actual strong hook or payoff. off. There's also a lot of convenience writing and pacing weirdness, and character-wise, Mondstadt is a bit of a mixed bag as well. Jean, Diluc, Kaya, and Dvalin get enough depth to make them feel like actual complex characters, but then there's characters like Amber, Lisa, and a whole bunch others that just kind of exist. They mostly feel like archetypes the game likes a little bit too much to actually challenge in a meaningful way. And while there are nice moments in the story, the game never really hits you in the gut emotionally, at least not yet. And that's what I mean with strings attached. There is so much setup here and not enough payoff yet that I'm able to properly judge the story. So where does that leave us? If I had to sum it up, I'd say that Mondstadt's story is good enough to keep me invested, but not so good that I'd recommend Genshin purely based on the narrative. It is a solid foundation with some genuinely cool ideas, occasionally undercut by some safe storytelling and an over-reliance on Paimon exposition and fetch quests. But the most important part is this: I want to see more. If Mondstadt is the tutorial arc for both the game and the story itself, then I'd say it does its job pretty well. It hooked me on the world, gave me just enough drama and mystery to care, and crucially, it made me actually want to keep playing and go to Liyue next to see how deep this rabbit hole truly goes. So yeah, Genshin Impact story, at least in Mondstadt, isn't some mind-blowing masterpiece, but it is a whole lot better than I expected for a gacha game, and it absolutely has the potential to become something genuinely special if it keeps building on the foundations that it started here.